Have you done any actual off-road recovery training? Hi everybody, I'm Rob and this is Shop Overland. We talk about going on adventures, road trips, camping, just generally getting out and enjoying life. And on this week's episode, we're going to talk about an event I attended. It's been a little bit. I should have recorded this sooner. Life's been busy, summer, I'm out doing things. But it was an event put on by Warriors in the Wild. In fact, this was their first ever event. Now, what this group is, it's put on by a couple named Misty and Joe. They've got YouTube and social media stuff. I'll link all of it at the bottom. But they're starting this group called Warriors in the Wild. I believe they're both veterans. I know Misty is. I think they're both veterans. And they started this group as a way to have events for veterans, to get veterans out and doing things, so people can spend time with people who have gone through similar experiences as them, as a way to decompress, kind of help combat PTSD, stuff like that. So they're the ones that organized the event, and what it was it was a whole day, a full day of off-road training with Switchback Outdoor Safety, who I'm already a big fan of. If you don't know them, you might know them and not even realize it. Aaron Parrish runs Switchback Outdoor Safety, offers all kinds of off-road recovery training, first aid training. He has run the training at the Moore Expo for years now. So if you've attended any training at the Moore Expo, Aaron had something to do with it or was teaching it. So you probably have met him if you've done any of that stuff. And finally, someone else who helped sponsor the event was Jared from Shop Overland Apparel, and he made the cool t-shirts for everybody. In fact, if I remember right, pretty sure I remember, the only way to get these cool shirts with the Warriors in the Wild logo and the Switchback Outdoor Safety and the little flag and the big thing on the back, the only way to get one of these shirts is to attend the events. The event was cool. If you are a veteran and they do when they do another event, you should attend. Obviously, you can go on Shop Overland Apparel, and they have some other Warriors in the Wild shirts and stuff you can buy. That's cool. It's another great way to support them. But if you want the cool shirt, you got to go to it. And this is extra cool because even though the Forerunner is red, I don't wear red shirts. I don't like wearing red. It's not a color I feel like looks good on me. It's a little flashier than I'm used to. I have gotten so many compliments on the shirt, especially from my wife. My wife loves the way the shirt looks on me, so go get a shirt, guys. Married guys, go get a shirt. Uh, married women veteran. I'm sure your husband will love the shirt on you too. So there you go. So back to the training. Actually, before I get back to the training, one other thing. Man, if you had considered signing up for this event and you didn't sign up or didn't go, you missed out. This was a great event that was offered at zero cost. All you had to do was show up, as long as you had signed up and all that fun stuff. But they had a limit of how many people they could take, and they did not reach that limit. In fact, there was, I'm trying to remember, it's been a little bit, sorry, my glasses keep falling down. There was me and I think 4 other rigs there. I think it was 4 other Jeeps. So Toyota guys, Nissan guys, where are you at? Come on, help me out. But it was 4 or 5 Jeeps and my Forerunner. Several of the guys brought their wives, which was interesting, and I will mention more of that later when we start getting into some of the actual instructions that went on. Point is, they had extra spots that you could have been in, and you could have been there for this training. Don't miss one of these opportunities again. This was awesome. All right, so now that I've kind of set it up, I'm going to start talking about some of the stuff that they covered in the training. So hang on. All right, now to go over some of the stuff that we went over in training, and it was a lot. Aaron packed so much training into one day, so I had to kind of get my little notebook out and kind of go over what we talked about. But it was kind of neat, and you knew it was a group of veterans. The training was supposed to start at 8, and the training was supposed to happen, or it did happen, basically at the property that is owned by Aaron. His house is there, but he's got some land set aside for training. Training's supposed to start at 8 o'clock in the morning. 7:30 in the morning, all of us started rolling in. Just Jeep, Toyota, Jeep. Everybody showed up super early. That's veterans for you. If you've ever dealt with veterans, they're sometimes really bad about showing up too early. But nevertheless, Aaron was ready for us. He was out there ready to go. He knew what he was getting into. But what I thought was really neat was the training started the minute you got there. You pulled into the long driveway, and there's Aaron waiting for you, and he's got a little clipboard, and he's like, hey, what's your name? Okay, cool, you're supposed to be here. And all of a sudden, it was a real quick one-on-one between you and him of what hand signals we were going to use for stuff. So like one to the left was going to be a quarter turn of the wheel. And then he, using those hand signals, one was a quarter turn. If he did two to the left, it was a half turn. Or it was a quarter turn, then another quarter turn, sorry. But he used those hand signals to guide you on the little dirt road, around the barn, into the area where he wanted you to park. And then he actually directed you in with the hand signals. It seemed like something simple, but it helped show how right from the beginning we were using all the time available to get as much training in as possible, even on something as simple as getting all the vehicles lined up where he needed them. And we used those same hand signals throughout the rest of the day for everything we did. So it was great foundational kind of knowledge that we could build on all day. From there, we went around, did introductions, talked about Warriors in the Wild, talked about Switchback Outdoor Safety, talked about Shop Overland Apparel, all that kind of stuff. Everybody kind of went around and tried to like share kind of their experience level and where they were coming from. A little bit of story of like what branch the military in, what all did you do when you were in the military, how long, what do you do now? So that was neat. We had a pretty good cross section. I think I was the only Air Force guy. I think we had I think it was 2 Navy and 2 Coast Guard, or maybe a Navy and Army and 2 Coast Guard, something like that. Great mix. Yeah, it was really neat. From there, like I said, I got to check the notebook because there was a lot. From there, we went into a real short but important conversation about Tread Lightly. Basically ran through what Tread Lightly was, talked about the principles, why they're important, and that was a theme throughout the whole day. Not necessarily the Tread Lightly part, even though it was too, but it was the why. Everything we learned, it was, you should do this way because of this. Not just, oh, you should do it because this is how you do it. Or not, oh, hook it up this way because that's how everyone does it. It was, this is the right way to do it because of this reason. And for me and my learning style, that was a huge benefit so I can understand. It helps me retain information. I remember why I don't do this because it can cause this. It just helps with the whole knowledge sucking in thing. From there, we moved into what blew my mind, which was how much math can be involved in properly figuring out a recovery. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we're talking about mired calculations. Basically, how stuck are you? So, loaded down with me in it, my vehicle is roughly 6,000 pounds. But if I'm stuck a little, like if my wheels are just spinning, it may take half my vehicle's weight to get me out. If I'm buried down to the axles in red clay mud, it may take my vehicle and a half, more than what my vehicle weighs worth of force to get it out. And it's the difference if it's uphill, downhill, the type of terrain it's in. It's one of the tires broke off. You only have 3. There's all these things that factor in to how much force is required to recover that vehicle. And quick plug, this is also where Aaron talked about being an I4W DTA trainer. It's the International Four-Wheel Drive Trainers Association. From what I understand, there are less than 90 of these instructors in the world. Aaron's one of them. And when they did the training at More Expo, they had 4 of them. 4 out of 90. One of the guys flew in from Australia to do the training at More Expo. That's how serious these guys are. And part of the training and part of the certification is they have to be able to do this math for these Myriad calculations in their head on the spot without reference. They just, um, stuff's tricky. There's a lot to it. Thankfully, the other thing Aaron showed us was this nice little app. And now I can't remember the name of the app. It was an app put out by Safe Extract, who makes super high-end recovery gear for everything from four-wheel vehicles to giant military vehicles. They do all kinds of recovery stuff that recover in 20,000-pound vehicles, huge stuff. We're talking um, tow ropes that are that big around and stuff, crazy things. What is nice about the app is you go in there, and I need to make a whole video on this app, so I'm not going to go super in depth. But with the app, you go in and you tell it, I'm driving this. It weighs about this much. You put a weight in there. I'm in this kind of this kind of road condition, whether it's snow or mud or clay or sand. I'm stuck at this angle, going uphill or downhill. And in fact, it's even got a inclinometer. It'll tell you what angle it is. You push a button on the thing and you hold your phone up to your car and like lay it on the hood, and it'll measure the angle for you and then tell you what the angle is. And from there, you tell it, okay, I've got a 10,000-pound winch, or my buddy's here with his car, and we've got this equipment, and it will tell you if or how, combination of that to safely get your vehicle out. Like, okay, you can get out, you can use your winch to get yourself out, but you're so stuck you can't get away with a single line pull. You need to do a double line pull, and here's how to do it. I could talk about this app for probably 30 minutes easy, so I need to make a whole separate video on it so we don't wrap this whole thing, we don't get stuck on it here. So I'm going to move on. But from there, this was something else really neat that I thought was cool. We went and walked around. Sorry, somebody's being weird. We went and walked around each vehicle that was there. Everybody was there for the training, and talked about what kind of bumpers they have, what kind of recovery points do they have. Do they have rock rails? They not have. Like, I don't have rock rails. I don't carry, I don't carry a high lift jack because I don't have a lot of good points to use it on my vehicle. And so we did that, talked about the different vehicles and how they were set up and different considerations for each different vehicle, and kind of talked about what recovery gear we all carried. Just a neat way to just kind of get a baseline on where we're at, what we have. I ended up leaving the course with a list of recovery gear that I want to get. Better stuff than what I have. Some of the stuff I have Amazon junk with no good ratings and stuff. So, but through that, after we went through all the vehicles, we did kind of start talking about working load limits, strength, the strength of items that you're using. You look at any good recovery gear, it should have a tag on it that says like working load limit, minimum braking strength, something like that to give you an idea. You need things like minimum braking strength, so you know how far you can push it. Something like a maximum braking strength is useless. That doesn't tell you how far you can use it, because if that was the maximum braking strength, it broke other times way before that in testing. So we talked about why you need gear with these labels and trying to figure out, okay, if I've got a 6,000-pound vehicle and I'm pulling it out with a single line pull and I'm doing this, I'm putting this much force on these different items, what are they all rated for? What is, like, I've got some knockoff soft shackles. I have no idea what they're rated. They're probably not actually rated for anything. They're probably just not rated. And they don't have a tag on them, so I wouldn't know in the first place. So we talked about the importance of going through your gear and going through your vehicle and understanding what you have and how you can know if it's safe or not. All right, hang on. So at this point, we kind of moved on. We'd basically be doing a lot of kind of lecture and classroom type stuff, sitting in our lawn chairs out next to Aaron's barn. But it was really nice. Like I said, we were all kind of connecting. But at this point, it's time to break down and have lunch. They had brought in sandwiches from some local deli diner place, and they were amazing. I don't know the name of the place. If I've ever gone back through that part of Missouri, I will definitely be sending Aaron a message and be like, what was the name of that place? Because the sandwich was amazing. But you don't care about that. So after lunch, we kind of moved out to more of the field area, and it was time to start getting hands-on and start doing stuff. This is the exciting part. You got to do all the learning part to move on to actually doing it, but we started with just doing simple single vehicle towing. Just like, hey, your buddy's stuck, or maybe your buddy's just broke down. Not even stuck, he's just broke down. And how are you going to flat tow him out? And we talked about the advantages of doing a tow with like a single strap versus two straps in a V versus two straps in an X, depending on how your vehicle's set up. Moral of the story, if you can use two straps, it works a lot better. You don't get a lot less slack when you're turning and stuff. So didn't realize how awesome that was. So I need to get another short strap. And basically what he was talking about was towing with effectively with like your tree saver. So having two tree savers that you could set up like an X from your car to their car. I'm getting too far in depth. This video is going to take forever, but good idea. Worked a lot better. We did talk about snatch strap kind of momentum recovery a little bit. We did a couple of those, even though no one was like really stuck, but just to get an idea of what it would feel like. The other thing we hit on is that most people do that kind of recovery way too fast. In fact, it's with all the different recovery things we talked about, first thing to do is slow down. Don't get a rush. Assess the situation. Why are you stuck? Or why is that vehicle stuck? What is wrong? Is it a lack of traction? Are they high-centered? Or is the diff caught on something? Figure out what the actual problem is, and then figure out the best way to fix it, and then go ahead and fix it. You don't need to be in a hurry. So from there, we started moving on to actually using the winch, which that got real interesting and real technical real fast. We started with your basic like single line pull, but even that gets in depth of like how many wraps do you have on your drum and stuff like that, and things do you are you using steel cable or synthetic cable, and what kind of fair lead and what kind of connection are you using, soft shackles, hard shackles. Whew. Surprisingly, a lot of information even on a single line pull. Then we started moving into a double line pull. Which if you're watching this trying to learn these things from me, don't do that. I'm just talking about what we talked about. I'm not trying to teach you how to do a double line pull. A single line, double line pull, pretty easy, but some of the stuff we get into in a little bit, I'm not even going to bother trying to explain. We did all that. This is where things start to get complicated. And I kind of understand this one, but I still have to like draw it out and like picture it going before it makes sense in my head. It's a Spanish Burton. Basically, you got your normal single line pull, and then you've got a double line pull where you're doing technically exerting twice as much force, but you're moving half as fast. So it's a 2-to-1 ratio. A Spanish Burton ends up doing a 4-to-1 ratio. So theoretically, mathematically, your 10,000 pound winch might be exerting 40,000 pounds of pressure, but it's moving for every 4 feet of line it pulls in, you're moving 1 foot. It's a very slow process, which is a good thing. Slow is good. It gives you time to keep an eye on things, make sure nothing's going wrong. Slow can be good, but it also, you can put a lot of pressure, which you can get something unstuck. That's awesome. You may have to pause for just a second. All right, sorry about that. I'm filming out at a campsite. A couple motorcycles went by. It just got really loud for a second. But, so yeah, like I said, single line pull, double line pull, Spanish Burton. And then we started talking about doing winch pulls with like we using a pulley, a pulley block as a redirect, where you needed to pull off this, but you go to the tree and pull here because it starts getting really complicated really quick. So go to training, learn about it more. I would love to get better at this, and I'm planning on attending more training so I can get better at it. And then finally at the end of this section at least, Aaron pulled out a prototype that a company had sent him and then let us play with it. It's a land anchor, like a pool pal. Basically, it's an anchor that kind of digs into the dirt, and you hook your winch up to it. If there's no trees around or nothing else you can winch to, you don't have another vehicle, you don't have another anchor point. You literally stick this in the ground. It digs into the ground deep. The more you pull it, the deeper it goes, the more stuck it gets. And it worked really good. I was surprised. I know they've been around forever. The trick with this one, and I don't even remember what company it was, and it was still a prototype, it had the ability to pack down smaller than the original like Pool Pal and stuff. But it was neat getting to play with that because that's not something I've ever really put hands on or even seen in person. So that was cool. Uh, After that, we kind of took another break, got some water. But what I thought was really interesting throughout all this with the winch stuff, mostly the winching because it was easier to do it, Aaron made a point of involving the wives that came along. They were more passive with the group. They kind of just stood back and were watching. So when it came time to like, okay, we're going to do a scenario with this vehicle stuck, and we need to do a double line pull from this vehicle to that tree, he would put them. He would like grab one of them, like, oh hey, you're in charge. You're our safety person. You're going to go through and check and make sure every connection's done right. And obviously, he'd go with them and double check and make sure. But it was really neat to see that he purposely went out of his way to involve them, even though they weren't necessarily they weren't as thrilled about the training as everyone else. They had great attitudes. They were happy to be there. I don't think this the wrong way. I don't know if it's what they would have done on their own if it was just them. They were more coming to spend time with their husbands. But yeah, they got involved too, and they were like making sure things were hooked up right and helping direct. Okay, we'll move this over here. Okay, we need to use this here. Even butting in, going, well, hey, we used this kind of shackle. We used a hard shackle here. Maybe we should use a soft shackle instead. It got some good talking going. Really enjoyed it. Then I'm getting lost in my head. But then we did spend a little bit of time on high lift jack stuff. Um, I mean, Aaron teaches a whole day of just high lift jack training, so we didn't spend a whole lot of time. We spent maybe an hour, kind of going over how to safely use a high lift jack, what you can use it for, um, what you need to have on your vehicle to use it. Basically, you need a safe spot to put the high lift jack to pick your vehicle up. You don't want to just pick up a rocker panel on something like a 4Runner. But a lot of that, you know, and even some of the attachments that high lift make to like pick up a wheel so you can stack some rocks under it. And then even the high lift winching kit with so the normal high lift winching kit, I actually have it at home and I've played with it a little bit, but I don't really want to use it because it has this giant heavy chain. I saw this originally at some of Aaron's training at More Expo, but they talk about using the high lift jack as a winch or to winch, but instead of the chain, they're using winch extension, which is a lot lighter, a lot safer. So really neat things, some training you should look at. If you're at More Expo, look into some of that, especially the high lift jack training. But the last thing we did, and I thought this was really cool, we had Aaron, talking to Aaron at the end, he didn't have like a strict plan of we're going to do this and this and this and this. He basically was like, I've got these guys from 8 to 5 or 8 to 4:30, whatever it was. We had a time frame. He goes, we're going to push and just see what all we can get done, see what all we can get through. So we got to the last little section. He was like, all right, I'm going to give you all a challenge. And I'm not going to go too in depth in this, but he basically arranged the vehicles in a certain way. And it was like, okay, this is where the vehicles are. This is the gear you have. And this vehicle won't run. It wasn't that it was stuck, but it didn't run. It was actually, we used mine as the not running vehicle, which was hilarious, surrounded by Jeeps. So of anything, the Toyota's be the one that not works. Sure. But so the vehicle wouldn't run, it would roll, you could steer, and the winch worked. So we were simulating something like a drive shaft went out, I guess. Something like that. Just something where the drivetrain was not working anymore. And we had the vehicle in one spot, and we had to get it to a different spot facing a certain direction, and we had like limits we had to get it within and a time limit. And it was like, cool, this is your situation, go. And the understanding was that Aaron was not going to stop us or interfere or anything unless we were doing something unsafe. I'm happy to say we accomplished the challenge within the time limit. I mean, you give a bunch of veterans a challenge and a time limit, and we're going to figure it out. And we did. And we got it there. We got the vehicle moved where we needed to. Afterwards, Aaron did point out a slightly simpler way we could have done it. We did it in 3 pulls just to get it lined up the way we wanted. And then he showed us how we could have done it in 2. But either way, I don't care what Aaron says. We got it done within the time limit. So it still got done. Overall, this was an amazing event. It was Such cool people to hang out with all day, whether we're talking about the people that organized it with Aaron and Misty and Joe and Jared. Great people there, and the people in the class. They were all amazing. I mean, I don't know if it's just veterans having fun hanging out with veterans. We had vastly different experiences. We had different, pretty decent. I don't want to assume people's ages, but there was probably at least 20 to 30-year age gap there between some of us. So, I mean, you've got almost like the whole different generations that had been in different deployed environments and had different complete jobs in different branches of the military. But the way we all just kind of meshed together, got things done, pushed through the training, picked up information, learned information, it was a great time. I hope they do another one. I hope they do some other. I know talking to Misty and Joe, they're talking about doing more than just off-road recovery classes. They're talking about doing possible like kayak trips for veterans and stuff. It's not like Warriors 4-wheel driving. It's Warriors in the Wild. So reach out to them if you have ideas, or if you're a veteran and there's something you want to do. Reach out to these guys. I'm going to have links for everybody, for all the people involved. All the links I can, they'll be down below. But oh my God, this was great. In fact, I'm really hoping that next time they have some kind of Warriors in the Wild has some kind of event, that I can help possibly volunteer and help do stuff with them, help facilitate or grab lunch or whatever it is. I want to support the organization and support what they're doing because it's that awesome. I know I'm kind of rambling here. It's hard to talk about this whole thing because it's just a lot. But big thank you to Misty and Joe. Like I said, I'll have their channels there. So Misty and Joe with Warriors in the Wild, they were amazing. Thank you to Aaron at Switchback Outdoor Safety. Thank you to Jared at Shop Overland Apparel. And thank you to the other veterans who showed up and had a great time. I had an amazing time, and I love telling people about it and how much fun it was, and it was free. I mean, it was free for us. Obviously, there was cost involved with it, and that's why they had sponsors like Jared, and that's why, and then pretty sure Aaron was donating some of his time there and stuff. But you don't have an excuse, especially if you're a veteran out there. You don't have an excuse for not going to this stuff. It was awesome. Really all I have for you. If you've got any questions for me, questions, comments, criticism, complaints, whatever, reach out to me. You can find me on Instagram at StormcrowOverland. You can reach me on email, stormcrowoverland@gmail.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, we also release the audio as a podcast. Just wherever you get your podcast, just search Stormcrow Overland. If you somehow stumbled across this as a podcast, just realize we also release the video on YouTube. Search Stormcrow Overland on YouTube. You'll find it. And there's links below and all that fun stuff. But yeah, so go out there, give back, go to veterans events, go to support these kind of things. Get some off-road recovery training if you don't have any actual training. Don't just rely on watching stuff on YouTube. Go get some hands-on stuff from people who really know what they're talking about. I guess that's all I have for you. So try to remember what I say at the end of these things, because I've been slacking on making videos. Sometimes you've got to go out there and get some really awesome training before you can find yourself. I don't think I said that right, but it's okay. Thanks for watching, guys.